So I talked about making some videos about military and Iraq stories. So some of you know a little bit about my background, but I spent 6 years in the Army and did a couple years in Iraq, contracting various jobs. So a little bit of background, but went to Iraq doing security contracting back in 2005, and I could tell stories for days, but I'll try to make these kind of like short, few-minute videos so people don't get bored and they just tell the funny part of a story. So we're on a convoy one day doing convoy security, escorting a client up to Mosul from the Beiji area, which is in northern Iraq, but probably 3 or 4 hour drive. Pretty good long drive, pretty boring because there's not much between the two. And you're kind of gaining elevation most of the way, slowly. So if you've driven from like Dallas to Amarillo, it's similar to that probably. We would drive like usually 90, 100 miles an hour in the Ford F-350s because they were speed of security. So it makes it harder for insurgents to time a IED or VBIED on you. So we'd run pretty fast despite the desk jockeys back in the States telling us, oh, you're limited to 60 miles an hour for safety. So we're rolling up the road, heading northbound, and it's a divided highway, blacktop most of the way. And we're coming up on kind of about to peak a hill, and you get, the weird little desert mirage looks going on from the heat. And so way out there, a few hundred yards out, is a little fuzzy looking a lot of times. And I'm driving the lead truck, which we actually called Rabbit, because we would sprint forward ahead of the whole convoy and clear an intersection, make a blocking position, whatever. And the lead truck actually stayed, what we call lead, stayed with the client. So they never veered away from the client usually. They would stay in the front as the lead element. But the Rabbit truck could end up way up ahead or could end up in the blocking position and get passed by the whole convoy. Just depended on kind of the situation, how we would run the Rabbit truck. But we were usually out front and kind of running ahead and clearing the road. So I got picked as kind of the Rabbit driver pretty often because I had a knack for not stopping the convoy. I would veer off the main road if the military had it blocked or if there had been an IED previously go off or whatever. We basically wouldn't get stuck somewhere being sitting ducks because I would take us off in the desert and land navigate us around an obstacle. Go a few miles around on the desert, come back out on the highway and keep rolling. I also seem to have a knack for just finding my way around wherever we were going, even though we didn't have usually a good map or a lot of good intel. Sometimes somebody that had been there before could give us a little bit of a some tips, pointers on how to get into a place and what to avoid. But anyway, we're rolling north. We're hauling ass. We're doing 100 miles an hour. We're about to peak a hill, and there's been a little car ahead of us for a few miles, a little black car that we were gaining on slowly, but they pulled over on the right shoulder. And where they pulled over, there were signs blocking the road, like these big, huge signs strung across the road, kind of blocking the road. And the situation looked iffy as the driver, so it looked like maybe they were trying to funnel us into either driving onto the median, the dirt median, where there could be buried IEDs, or stopping at that, before those signs. So we're going faster probably than we should be, and got to make a decision pretty quick. So I'm in the front, and Kevin is the shooter in the shotgun seat, and Johnny Glenn is the right rear, and Brent Gray is the left rear. Brent wasn't on our team; he was an add-on, and later died in Iraq. So, but Johnny I had known from the Army. That's another story for another day. And Kevin had been on my team for quite a while, so they kind of knew me and knew probably how I was going to react to something. So I just kept going. I slowed down a little bit, and I just blew through the signs. These things are probably like 9-10 feet tall. Knocked both the mirrors off the F-350. They're hanging and dangling off the doors, and just blew through them. The little car wasn't a bomb, didn't blow up. And as soon as I peaked the hill, we get over the hill, and I was having to start weaving between road equipment. They were actually paving the road. So, and it must have been lunchtime. All the Iraqi highway workers are, they're sitting on their equipment eating their sandwiches or whatever as we come blowing through like 70, 80 miles an hour, weaving between road working equipment, trying not to crash into it. And we make it through that obstacle, no big deal. Brent was a little perturbed because I failed to let him know that there was an obstacle. He was hanging out the window facing the rear with his gun out the window, and he almost got taken out by one of the signs. So that was interesting. He bitched about it a little bit, rightfully so. So we get up the road. It's not another 5 or 10 minutes. We're rolling. We're still running like 100. We come up behind a big, like 2.5 ton truck hauling vegetables, melons, or whatever in the bed. And this wasn't that uncommon. The drivers over there, they're zoned out. They're driving across the desert. There's nothing to see. This driver's doing his thing. He's just, I don't see him look back in the mirror and see us. We've got flashing lights on the truck. We've got a PA system, so we're screaming through the PA system for him to move over. He's kind of hogging the middle of the road. Can't go around the left. Can't go around on the right. And he don't see us. So finally, there's a little bit of an opening on the right. So I go to pass him on the right. And when I did so, he must have seen in his mirror the rest of the convoy behind me, the other American trucks, and knew he was supposed to pull over to the right. So he started coming over to the right, and he ran us off the road. I had nowhere to go. I'm passing him, but I'm still right up beside this big truck when he starts to jerk it hard to the right. So I jerked it hard to the right, and when we went off the road, as we went off the road, we're still going too fast. We come up at pretty much simultaneously on this Iraqi police checkpoint, and they have these huge dirt piles out and it's a pretty steep ditch. They have these huge dirt piles set up offset of the ditch to keep people from blowing through the checkpoint on the shoulder in the ditch, and to prevent people from doing what we were accidentally doing. So we're going way too fast in the ditch. The truck's already halfway sideways, and I'm having to weave it through these dirt piles at a real high rate of speed. And they're huge dirt piles. Like if you hit one, it's going to be a really bad day. And Johnny and Kevin are actually on the right side of the truck with the truck in the ditch, and the ditch is kind of a V-shaped. So they actually had to pull their guns up in the truck because the dirt is that close to the side of the truck. And I'm driving, and I'm actually like, oh shit, we're going to crash. Like thinking this is not going to be good. And I just managed to get it between the dirt piles, and it's rough. We're bouncing around the truck, and then finally we get past all the obstacles, past the IP checkpoint, and I eased it back up on the road. It was way smoother than what it should have been. Like we probably should have died, but we didn't. So I get back up on the road, and I just look over at Kevin. I was like, man, that's smoother than I thought it was going to be. And he about lost it, So that was, we weren't that far from Mosul then. We did get into Mosul, and we passed the turn to get into, I think it was Diamondback West or something where we were going. And we end up in town as a lone truck in an area of town where obviously we weren't welcome. So everybody's kind of giving us the stink eye, and there's nowhere to turn around. There's a median, but the curbs are probably like 1.5 feet tall. They're really squared off. It's, not good not a place to turn around. So we did end up just like finally just curbing the truck and turning around in the median and going back through the same area we just came back through, that everybody was giving us a stink eye. But that was one of those funny days that maybe Johnny's the only one I think on Facebook that maybe he can share his memories of that crazy drive.